Alright, welcome back to another market recap. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the market for today, September 20th, 2024. Today was a Friday, and from the beginning of the day, it was kind of unclear to me where we were going to go because we had equal lows here, and we had equal lows up here. So, I was trying to figure out what kind of daily profile it was, and at first I wasn't sure. And I'm not even sure there's a name for this daily profile, but eventually it became more obvious what was happening because we had Asia and London forming relatively equal highs, and then we had this sweep of the sweep of London highs, and then we had an internal sweep forming an SMT here. Then we had these equal lows, and at this point I started to get a light bulb go off. And I was like, okay, we have these equal lows below, and we're sweeping London and Asia's highs. It seems like this is forming a sell model, right? So here we had this. Now, it is important to note that I didn't notice a high time frame key level here. So we were kind of distributing from nowhere, which I didn't like. But regardless, this was still essentially some kind of a sell model. So, which gives me reason to believe that we'll actually come back up and then take out these relatively equal highs at some point. Especially because I think the monthly draw on liquidity is much higher. Anyway, this formed this sell model, and I will now give two possible trades you could have taken. One of them I did take, one of them I outlined but did not take. So I had this 1 hour gap marked out because I figured this seemed like a reasonable draw on liquidity. And you can see it was. We pushed down into this 1 hour gap and actually came down even further, filled this entire 4 hour gap, and came to this lower 4 hour gap all the way down here. Anyway, we came up, swept Asia's highs, swept London's highs, formed an SMT here, swept the Asia's highs, swept London's highs, and then this is where I started to get my low time frame entry. So I did not take this trade. I outlined that you could have taken a trade from this breaker block. At the time, I did miss this 30-second inversion. If I saw this 30-second inversion, I probably would have taken this trade, but I missed it. But we had this 1 minute breaker block here, a high, low, higher high, lower low. We pushed up back into this breaker block. And then we had this internal sweep here, and we inversed this 30-second gap going towards these equal lows. And so this seemed like just a giant market maker sell model. So this would be a really nice entry for this move down, especially because this was the macro from 950 until 1010. Anyway, target these equal lows, and then boom, nice 2-to-1 risk reward trade. And then here, this was the other trade I actually did take this one, where you had an SMT, and then you swept this high, and you had the 1 hour gap as your draw on liquidity. You had this 30-second old bullish gap that closed below, at which point this was my entry. And then it's important that you have your stop loss above this gap because you can see price came back up and used this upper 30-second gap, and it held this upper 30-second gap as well. So you need to have your stop loss above both of these fair value gaps at the very least, or higher. But anyway, I probably have my stop loss like right here, about 1.4 to 1 for me, or 1.5 to 1 or something like that. And then I took profit at this gap, but if I were to redo this trade, I would have taken profit here because you get an extra point for waiting until the gap. You might as well, I don't even know what you call it, probably like a point. You might as well just take profit here because the amount of risk you're taking to go for the gap is just, it's not worth it, because you have this draw on liquidity so much closer. It's just basically the same thing. So would have taken profit here if I could redo it. But anyway, two really good trades, in my opinion. I messaged Dodgy about this one, so we'll see what he says. I didn't message him about this one, but this one, I figure this one's pretty good. So anyway, now it seems like we're probably forming some kind of buy model, especially because the bottom here happened around 11 a.m. and it happened at that 4-hour gap. So it's totally speculation, but like I feel like these relatively equal highs, well, let me fix this gap here. I feel like these relatively equal highs are now the new draw on liquidity, and it seems like we'll come run these relatively equal highs and then this previous month's high at some point. So possibly forming a new market maker buy model. Could be wrong, we'll see. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.